Good evening. Um, how you doing, Dr. Smith? This is me, Vent. Um, my my late submission, and I apologize. I did email you about it. But I'm coming to you to do my presentation. My topic was adolescent risk behavior. So with adolescent risk behavior, I have had a little experience with that with me having teenagers. Um, I think more with my second born than my first. Um, she she was somewhat of a daredevil doing things in school or whatever that she knows she's not supposed to do, taking risks um that she shouldn't be taking, knowing the consequences, um like clowning in class, being disruptive, not all the time or whatever, but she did struggle with it a little bit in middle school. But I feel like that it also came from influences around her in the classroom as well. Because a lot of kids, they feed off of their classmates, or they try to copy their classmates to try to fit in. So I feel like somewhat that was part of the situation, because even with me being in school, I was a class clown. So I was in class, always making people laugh or whatever, but I still did my work and was on honor roll and all that in through the whole situation. So with being a class clown, I still achieved what I posted done, but I just like to make people laugh or like to see people happy or whatever. I was just always cracking a joke. So yeah, but now she's in high school. She's not doing too much risk taking right now. She's only a freshman. But yeah, we did have some experiences in middle school with the risk taking and peer pressure and things like that in middle school. And I had to really sit down and talk to her about it or whatever. Always pushing to be a leader and not a follower. That's my motto in my household. Be a leader, not a follower. You set the trend, people follow you. You might not think that people are watching, but people are watching you or whatever. They're watching what you're doing. They're trying to figure out how you're doing it or whatever, especially successful people. People watch their stories and see where they came from. So I always just embed that in my daughters to be leaders and not followers. So on to adolescent risk behavior. Um, I researched the top 6 risk behaviors that they had listed. Um, one of one of the behaviors was the behavior that contributes to unintentional injuries. Example, maybe getting getting drunk and then having a car accident. That's unintentional because you didn't intentionally think that you were going to cause yourself injury, but with the influence of alcohol, something happened you wasn't expecting to happen or whatever. So it wasn't intentionally that you were going to get into the car accident. You didn't intentionally do it. So it was an unintentional injury, whatever injuries that you suffered in that car accident. Just an example. Or saying playing with a knife and you get cut, I'll say that's an unintentional injury because you would, well, no, I wouldn't say that was unintentional because okay, you're playing with the knife, so you know the consequence of playing with a knife, you might get cut. So I'll say that you might, well, no, because you didn't intentionally cut yourself, so that would be an unintentional injury too. So that's just a few examples of that. Another behavior is sexual behavior lead that leads to an unwanted pregnancy or STI. Um, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Having sexual behaviors that means you weren't wearing protection. Um, so you didn't protect yourself or your mate. So what came from that was you became pregnant or you transmitted a disease from the person because you didn't protect yourself by using a condom. Another um, top risk behavior is alcohol or drug use, which a lot of adolescents and youth do explore around that age. Peer pressure from other kids, and sometimes not peer pressure. Some kids at that age are just curious and want to um, explore things. Another top risk behavior is unhealthy diet dietary behaviors, and this can come about with bulimia, anorexia. Um, with me working at the hospital, I sit with um, patients in that capacity, kids that are bulimic or anorexia. They have this dietary issue. They come get help from the hospital or they get outside um, help in other facilities that deal with that situation. Another top risk behavior is inadequate physical activity. And basically, that's just getting out, exercising. If you're not exercising, then you just sitting, gaining weight, which can lead to you being obese, which can lead to eventually health problems because of your weight. So, um, yeah, we try to. That's why I say try to get at least 30 minutes of exercise in a day, and that really helps or whatever to keep down health risk, especially as you get older because your body metabolism slows down. So you want to get that exercise in to keep your weight down. Um, in another article in Psychology Today, Dr. Joe Milano, uh, Dr. Joe Magalano wrote that adolescents and young adults take more risk than any other age group. And with him saying that, I can't believe it. Around that age, young adults, whatever, we do tend to explore into different things, want to try different things, want to try what your friends are doing or whatever, and not knowing the consequences of it sometimes. Um, he goes on to say, oh yeah, in that age group, they take more risk than any other age group. Um, Examples of risk taking that they do encounter is like dangerous driving, drug use, binge drinking. Teens today, they know that. Hold on, just a second. They know that the behaviors are risky, but they still do them anyway. So that, I feel like that is not good. That even though you know the consequences of the behavior, you still want to try it just to see if you can get out of it or make it through or whatever. Like, I wouldn't chance my life to um, indulge in drunk driving or speed driving, whatever, to see what the outcome would be, if I'm gonna survive or the people that's in the car with me gonna survive, whatever. I felt like at the age that they're talking about, I wasn't, my mind frame was more mature at the age, so that's something that I wouldn't even been thinking about at that time. And we go on, so I go on to say, during the adolescence stage, there's in, increase in peer pressure. No, there's an increased interest in peer relations and peer influence at that age. So at this age, um, kids are starting to explore relationships, being with the opposite sex, seeing if this is my little boyfriend or my little girlfriend, um, which can be a risk taker somewhat because you're playing with your emotions and feelings at that age. And most of the time at that age, a lot of adolescents are going through puberty, so that involves hormonal change and all that at that time. A lot of, and with that being said, with the with this topic, adolescent risk behavior, it also reflects back to chapter 11 in our book, which I did my summary on, which talks about adolescence. Um, the chapter was on adolescence and, oh man, adolescence and physical development. I think it was physical development, but I know in that chapter they talked about the risk take. They talked about risk taking in that chapter, and saying how they talked about peer pressure, and they talked about peer pressure. They talked about drug use and all that. So those all were risk behaviors which tied into this topic that I had to present on. Also, in the CDC, they said some risk behaviors are team drivers is a risk behavior that they said, which I can see it because a lot of teens, they have a high rate of accidents. That's why their insurance is so high when you get edged kids on because of teen driving. Teen pregnancy is a risk behavior. Youth violence, dating abuse, sexual abuse are all examples of risk behaviors, according to the CDC. We also go into risk and protective factors. So some positive risks that I seen, which I was surprised to see. Well, no, I wasn't surprised, but I didn't think they was gonna I would find a list with positive risk on it, but I did. So some of the positive risks they said were playing sports, volunteering, working, and making friends. Those are some positive risks for adolescents. Some negative risks are depression, drug use, unsafe driving, which we talked about earlier. Um, I felt like this list was very important because they did reflect on some of the positive risks for adolescents and other things they can reflect on. I feel like that teens need more resources around the middle school age because that's the time that they like to explore a lot. Uh, they like to explore around their age, so I feel like that they need to have more community involved programs, outreach programs for middle schoolers around their age, so they have outlets so they can stay out the streets, stay out of peer pressure, be in a positive environment, because the way the world is now, all kids need to be in a positive space. Um, I think that was all that I had on adolescence and risky behaviors. I hope you enjoyed this, and thank you. Bye bye.